Hey everyone. Okay, so we had our rest day. We recovered a bit from the first 11 days of hiking with the sissy, and I got to tell you, I know last night I went on way too long, but it was just the Assisi was just such a great location, and it was my favorite in terms of my favorite so far in terms of the um, the meaning of this pilgrimage. In other words, following the life of Saint Francis, and Assisi is kind of the center of that life. And it just so happened, I said last night on my video, it just so happened that we got there on the 3rd of October, which was the actual date he died, but he died after sundown, and so his feast day is celebrated on the 4th, which is today. And we woke up this morning, we all decided that we were going to stay in Assisi to see some of the festivities. And our tour guide yesterday, Alessandra, had told us kind of what the festivities were, and that if we could just stay until about 10:30, then we would be able to see the parade, the children, the medieval costumes, the different areas of Italy. She described Assisi as kind of like the Mecca for Muslims, because everybody comes to Assisi for religious holidays, etc. And so we stayed. We got up early so that we could get down. And as Americans, if we had a big festival event, of course we would be there hours ahead of time, probably tailgating, and we would kind of stake our place along the parade route. Well, it's really not that way here. It's, everybody was just kind of wandering, meandering around, and we knew from Alessandra how it would go, where it would start, etc. So we were just kind of hanging around this area, and there was a group of dancers from the northern part of Italy. There was a group of Australian teenagers about the age of my grandson Braden, about 15, from a school in Australia, and they had been in Italy for 2 weeks, and they're headed home tomorrow. Just an incredible group of young men, and they talked with us, and it was fun talking with them as we were waiting for this parade to begin. And then these young kids were the drummer boys, and they drummed as they began the parade. And I was not in the best position because most of my pictures are kind of washed out by the sun. I was looking close into the sun from that direction, and so they kind of washed them out. But I picked out 2 or 3 that I put on my Facebook page, both Facebook pages, and just kind of posted them. It turns out one of Alessandra's childhood classmates is now the mayor of Assisi, and so she was telling us all about the mayor. It turns out, so Alessandra was our tour guide yesterday, but she told us where she would be today for the parade because both of her children were in the parade. Well, sure enough, we were out there, and she came up, and she's just such a beautiful woman inside and out, and just kept giving us information about Assisi, about the parade, etc. We met a lady who is the only American tour guide in Assisi. She is a hoot, and actually took a video of us and is posting it on her blog. I don't know what the name of it is, so no, I'm sure I can't find it. But it was just wonderful. I was telling Kathleen after we left, we didn't leave until about 10. And after we left, I felt this feeling of, I call it melancholy, in that you were just sad for leaving. And I remember having the same sort of feelings when I walked the Camino de Santiago twice. At both times, when I got to Santiago, it's a very festive occasion. It's everybody that you've walked with, is a lot of them are still there, and everybody's hugging and saying, we made it, we made it, we made it. And there's a lot of people that are on this hike that they're coming from Rome to Assisi, or they're coming from Laverna to Assisi, or they're coming from Florence to Assisi, and that's the end of their pilgrimage. And so a lot of the people that we've seen along the way are they're done. And it was amazing that today, as we were walking from Assisi to Foligno, that there were a lot of people walking in the opposite direction. More pilgrims were walking in the opposite direction. We saw 2 people that left today, just like we did, that are headed to Rome, but not very many. 3. There were 3 pilgrims, but there were a lot of pilgrims going in the opposite direction, going to Assisi from Rome. So we walked. It was probably our easiest day. There was hardly any. There were a few small uphills, but not very many big uphills. No big uphills, matter of fact. And then the vast majority of the last part of the day was actually downhill and flat. We walked through a olive grove for probably an hour and a half. It was, and I, talking with Alessandra, we saw several olive trees yesterday, and she was explaining to us how the way they harvest them is they take like a rake that has 3 fingers on it. They basically scrape the limbs, and they have a sheet underneath, and they pick up that sheet and then put it into canisters, etc. And that the olives around here are used for olive oil. They're not table olives. Those are grown in the south of Italy. The table olives, the ones you would eat, are in the south of Italy. Here, it's just they're used for olive oil. And she was explaining how they harvest them, etc. Well, I don't know when harvest is, but it's clear that they were very laden with fruit. Whatever you call olives. There was a lot of olives on these trees. And so I'm assuming that we're not far. If September is, at least in Nampa, is kind of the harvest season in Nampa. So anyway, we walked to, I don't know if you can hear it, but the bells are ringing because it's right at 6 o'clock here in Foligno in Italy. It's right at 6 o'clock. So we walked on to Foligno. It was not near as walking through forests like most of the rest of our hikes have been. It was more walking above, but you could see highway and urban industrial areas and things like that. We did walk through this beautiful medieval town called Spello, and stopped there and had a cup of coffee and a little bite to eat. And it was just gorgeous. I have a few pictures where flowers hanging out of windows and things like that, but it was just a beautiful medieval city on the side of a hill. And so it was great. And then on into Foligno. And Foligno's not probably your prettiest area. It was heavily bombed during World War II. Some of the more significant old structures survived, but for the most part, it's post-World War II construction. So it's not beautiful. It was where Francis, after he got, remember last night I talked about San Damiano, when Francis got the call at San Damiano from looking at the crucifix and the voice of Jesus came out and said, rebuild my church. Well, he came to Foligno he sold his horse and he sold some of his dad's cloth, which didn't make his dad very happy, and to raise money to rebuild San Damiano. We know Jesus meant something much more than just rebuilding San Damiano, but that's what Francis thought he meant at the time that he heard this voice. So anyway, Foligno's famous for this is where Francis came to raise some money to rebuild San Damiano. Tomorrow's a tough day. We were just looking at it a few minutes ago, and it's five hills we're going to climb, and one downhill, 14 miles, 2,500 feet up. So it's the intent is get up early and head out as quickly. The breakfast starts at 7, so we'll be down there at 7, and we'll begin walking again tomorrow. We got another day after that, and then we get into Spoleto, and we're going to take another day off. It's a little quick here together, but I think we could all use it. So we're going to do that, and I understand that in Spoleto that the hotel has a spa, which may mean massages. So we'll see. All right, so I'm going to sign off for this evening and post this and Vero Vino Rosso. So to all my friends and family out there, I'm praying for you. I want you to pray for me because I can always use good prayers, and I'll be getting back with you probably tomorrow evening, I would suspect. All right, see you guys.